Hello everyone, this is Stuart from Utradea. Today we are going to be looking at Lucid Motors, and it's going to be a little bit different than other investment analysis videos you might have seen on YouTube, and the reason being is we are going to be looking at recent Stocktwits and Twitter sentiment trends to see if we can pull out any investment or trading insights. Before we get into it, if you can please like and subscribe to the video, it would mean a ton to me. If you have any questions, comments, drop them below. We'll respond to them as quickly as possible. If there's anything else you want me to look at, let me know. Happy to dive into it. Okay, let's get started. So just starting on our blog page, this was posted by one of our super users, George Lucas, great handle, essentially saying, analyzing Lucid Stocktwits and Twitter sentiment trends for investment insights. So what do we mean by this? Essentially, the premise is that by tracking what's happening on Twitter and Stocktwits, we can get a sense of major moves within the market because we've seen that retail investors have a fairly big impact. And if something starts to trend on these channels, or if some recent news drops, you want to be tracking it in real time. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, in a 24-hour period, we see over 250,000 tweets and close to 500 million impressions for the top 200 tickers on Twitter alone. Lucid LCID is definitely usually in the top 20. So definitely one that you want to follow. So just quickly, and I won't run through this whole thing, I'll link it in the description below, but just quickly looking at Lucid itself, is it trending on Stocktwits? So daily message volume, a little over 700. I'd say this is a bit under average. The average Stocktwits message volume probably around 1,000. But in terms of impressions, about close to 1 million people see a message that has the hashtag LCID, which is a fair amount. Jumping over to Twitter, we see that they average about 1,000 tweets and 4 million impressions in 24 hours, which is a decent amount. What's quite interesting is the number of Twitter accounts that are influential. So we see over 116 accounts that have more than 10,000 followers are typically tweeting about Lucid, and then about 9 accounts with over 100,000 followers are tweeting about Lucid. So it's a fairly popular stock, and when this thing starts to pick up or if some news drops, we see a pretty significant jump in impressions. So why don't we jump over and look at the actual social sentiment dashboard to see what I'm talking about. So what we can do is go to Lucid. So the social sentiment dashboard pulls in real-time tweets and Stocktwits posts, and you can look at it over the last 3 months and broken down into different time intervals. So let's take a look at price and then look at impressions over the last 2 weeks for Lucid to see what's going on. Now, the reason I like to look at impressions is impressions shows you essentially how many people have seen a tweet that has the hashtag LCID, Lucid. So it's really a good indicator of how many eyes see it, and ultimately that typically I'd say correlates with price action and volume for Lucid. So in the last 2 weeks, it was trading around $22 a share. Let's see, this was on the 26th, so this is a bit earlier today, where it's down to about $17 a share and a bit of a rebound before close, which is interesting to see. We'll zoom in on that and see what was going on. But the great thing about this, you can look at a bunch of different metrics to help you keep an eye on what's going on with Lucid. Let's take a quick look at the sentiment. So overall sentiment, remains pretty positive, maybe a few dips here. You can click in and figure out, what tweets were driving that, because we also track whether these tweets are positive or negative in terms of what they're tweeting about. But like I said, let's jump over to the last 12 hours. What was going on? So opened at $18 a share. And then closed around $17 a share. And if we look at the last 72 hours, so the previous day opened at 18, climbed up to 19, and then dropped. Just to give you guys a bit of context, obviously there was a pretty big market sell-off today, so kind of to be expected, seeing most stocks perform poorly today. I'd expect Lucid to be no different. Why don't we jump in and see where this spike is pertaining to. So, okay. This is why there is this impression spike. So right now I'm on the influencer feed. This shows you the top accounts that are tweeting about Lucid. So Lucid announces deal up to 100,000 electric vehicles. Purchase commitment by government of Saudi Arabia. Okay. Yeah, that's positive news. Right now, we can't see the after hour price, but obviously from this tweet, after hours at 1850. So had a kind of not a great day in the market. We see this tweet come out. This is the news, right? So the 15 minutes before, you know, nothing major, except some put expiries, unusual sweep, and then boom, we have the news. This announces deal. If we looked at the aftermarket prices, we probably see it spike here. So all this to say, if you want to track what's going on with Lucid, this is a great tool to do so. If you're looking to add other stocks to your portfolio, you can go down here, screen them. We can look at all the social metrics, so posts, comments, likes, impressions, sentiment, and then we break down the actual stock info itself. If you've used a screener before, it's pretty self-explanatory, but essentially you can filter out and sort by different values. We also have earnings, price change, options, user stats, etc. So a ton going on here, super useful. Last thing I just want to jump into is the stock page itself. So if we go back to Lucid, this gives you a bit of a sense of what's going on with Lucid. So here's the news. Announced a sales deal with Saudi Arabia. We have an earnings breakdown as well. You can look at a bunch of other key insights. Trading view chart. Super useful to use when it's embedded in here. Wall Street targets, kind of the most recent analyst ratings. So 16 days ago, hold to a buy, sell, maintaining a sell, hold. Overall, I'd say this is pretty positive for Lucid. Only one sell by Morgan Stanley, but hold to a buy is good to see, maintaining a hold, and then another hold to a buy. So anyway, just wanted to show you what's going on with Lucid. Like I said, social sentiment, super useful to track. Would highly recommend adding it to one of the tools to use to keep an eye on Lucid if you're a current investor. This gives you kind of the real-time feed of what people are saying. This way you don't have to go sifting through Twitter or Stocktwits to find out. You can get it here in real time, already consolidated. And like I said, typically we see spike in impressions, and there's usually a corresponding change in price. So hopefully you found this useful. As I said, please like, subscribe. That mean a ton to me. If you have any questions or if there's anything I missed, drop a comment below. Happy to answer it, and happy trading.